Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Thursday, August 8th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 146 is The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. Alright, so before we jump into the video, I just want to mention that the other day I did announce my Patreon. I'm not going to get into all of it here, but you can find a link in the description below to that video, so if you're interested in giving me money in exchange for benefits, then you can go check that out. Alright, on to the game. The Legend of Zelda is a storied franchise that, despite a handful of key elements being consistent, has managed to redefine itself time and time again. Wind Waker is one of the most drastic changes they've tried, and the more time goes on, the more I find myself liking it. When the game came out in 2002, I didn't particularly like it that much, but I find myself increasingly happy they tried this little experiment, especially with how it feels like a predecessor to Breath of the Wild. There's a handful of changes that are in stark contrast with most of the franchise. The most obvious at first blush is the art style. Personally, I've always liked the cel-shaded graphical style of Wind Waker, with its bright and whimsical color palette, goofy character proportions, matching some of the silliness for the story. If you're looking for silly, gamey fun in your Zelda games, Wind Waker is the game for you. The world is largely covered in water, with scattered islands being the last vestiges of civilization. On his own birthday, Link's heroic journey begins when he spots a girl being carried away by a giant bird, with a pirate ship chasing after them. When they go to help the girl, the giant bird takes Link's sister, Aryll, instead. Now on a quest to save his sister and other kidnapped children, Link joins with the pirate crew and they set sail for a creepy old castle. This first dungeon is where you cut your teeth with swordplay and learn about dungeoneering. When it seems you might be able to save them after all, you're knocked back into the ocean to your certain doom from the vast abyss below. However, much to your surprise, you are saved by a ship. A boat. And I don't mean the crew of a boat. I mean a boat. You wake up to find yourself with a talking, sentient boat named the King of Red Lions. He sends you onto the island you're at to go find a sail, and you do, but that's not the only thing going on here. There's an auction house where you can find some cool stuff, including special treasure maps, there's some other mini games and hidden goodies, and most importantly, you can spring Tingle from jail. I have such conflicting thoughts about Tingle as a character. On the one hand, he's extremely annoying, but on the other hand, he's somehow kind of charming? Well, if you have the Game Boy Advance link cable for the GameCube, you can bring Tingle along in parts of your adventure, which is a nice little touch and just another extra thing for the game. Now that you have your sail, you hit the open seas, and by open, I mean only if you're going somewhere the boat will let you. Yeah, there actually is a lot to explore here, between platforms with enemies, little islands with treasures that you can sometimes get right away, although often you'll require tools you get later in the game to get to it, and loads of underwater treasure. From there, you'll head to Dragon Roost Island, the first full dungeon of the game. Something is tormenting the normally gentle dragon that protects the Rito, causing it to lash out and not let anyone near it. It's a pretty good dungeon. You have a bunch of puzzles, some new enemies, and it shows off a lot of the concepts that get pushed throughout the game, with tool usage, environmental interactions, and a really pretty dungeon design, at least once you get to the lava sections. Throwing jars of water on top of the lava creates a little platform you can step on, which if you do it in the right places, lets you really travel around in ways you might not initially expect. Fast forward a bit and you're given the grappling hook, a critical tool throughout this game. This lets you access different areas to swing around and, importantly, can be combined with your boat to dig up that sunken treasure I mentioned. The boss of the dungeon makes heavy use of the grappling hook and allows for a lot of interaction with your environment, which I like. In fact, maybe more than any other Zelda game, the thing that Wind Waker excels at the best is interacting with your environment. From the way you sail around, to combat, it's constantly asking you to consider your surroundings for solutions to whatever obstacle is before you. After you swing over the boss a few times, you can finally beat it up and grab the heart container after you kill it and get out of the mountain. Don't forget before you leave though, to learn your first baton movement. The name of the game comes from a special tool that you get early on called, of course, the Wind Waker. Unexpectedly, this is a magical conducting baton, and you can learn different movements in different time signatures to change things around you. This first one you learn changes the direction of the wind, allowing for much better navigation while sailing, but sometimes this helps solve different puzzles too, like you can change the wind so you can turn a windmill to do something. There's a handful of these you'll unlock throughout the game, and some of them actually get a little complicated to input. After you can change the winds, it's time to head south, where you'll find one of the best contributions to the franchise that Wind Waker made. You'll find the Deku Tree is still standing, despite all of this water and apparently maybe not much soil, I don't really know. And he's just hanging out, and keeping him company are Koroks. If you've played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, you'll definitely recognize these adorable little woodland creatures, and Wind Waker is their first appearance. I really like Koroks. They're so cute and adorable and little, and they work great with the art style of this game. So much of what Wind Waker does right are the moments when it stops taking itself seriously. There's humor and charm abound, and while admittedly a lot of the sailing is just the same open water, some of the things you find are actually really great looking, and once the map opens up for you more, it's a lot of fun to just sail around and look for all of the hidden things. All of the crazy new ideas in Wind Waker make it one of the most unique entries in the series, and a lot of the best strengths from titles after it have their roots firmly planted in the bold experiments that this game performed. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 145th favorite game, where everyone is here, except for Waluigi.